Lady Godiva was a freedom rider. She didn't care if the whole world looked. And Joan of Arc, with the Lord to guide her, now that was a sister who really cooked. Oop, I just got that. Isadora was the first bra burner. Ain't you glad she showed up? Truthfully, she should have burned her scarf, because that's how she ended up. Google it. And when the country was falling apart, well, Betsy Ross got it all sewed up. And then there's me, and Maud, and me playing Maud. So, welcome to Living Figuratively. This is the show that asks the question, why not fill your home with the fascinating faces and figures of people that you don't even know? Why not fill your home with figurative art? Each week, I bring you to my house, show you my art from my collection, art from my that I've done myself, or I take you out on the road and introduce you to figurative art and let you learn it, to love it, live with it, and want to have it in your home. Tonight, we are taking the show on the road up to Kirtland, Ohio, to the Lakeland Community College for From Woman 14, curated every year by Gallery Director Extraordinaire Mary Urbas. She's been doing it for 14 years now, and every year she collects, anywhere from 40 to 80 artists, female artists from across the country, mostly Northeast Ohio, but she does, reach out all across the country, and it curates this amazing, stellar show. I'm actually devoting 2 episodes to it because the show is quite big. What I've decided to do is to split it into 2D and 3D. So tonight is the 2D episode. And because it's living figuratively, I'm actually going to be ignoring half the work in the show because it's not figurative. But you guys don't have to ignore it. You can actually go see it on the Lakeland website. There's a beautiful walkthrough that Mary herself did where she shows you every single piece in the show. And the show is up through March 27th in the lobby of the 7700 Clock Tower building of Lakeland Community College. And students walk through and, it's a gorgeous show. So, without any further ado, I'd like to start showing you From Woman 14. First up, we're going to head down what I have called Animal Alley. So, Animal Alley, the way that Lakeland's shows are organized, there's the general hallway areas, which are more the PG stuff is out here in the hallways. And this whole area here has a definite animal theme. The first one that I'm going to show you, and I consider animal art as figurative art, so what I'm going to show you right here. I'm going to spotlight a couple of special ones by Bachmann, whose work I first saw in Columbus at the Sherry Gallery, and it's gorgeous. It's got this iconic but whimsical illustration-y, but maybe a little bit goth, dark quality to it, but it's still very cheery and bright at the same time too, even though it's a very darker, muted colors. And this, I thought it was very, beautifully done, little frog, and just a gorgeous, gorgeous little piece. Skipping down over here, I'm going to show you one by Betty Skufka, who is, I don't know if she's 90 already. She is kind of a miracle. She's this sweet, sweet older lady who does this beautiful pointillism, which is so rare these days. Nobody does pointillism anymore. It's got this, this one is called The Spirit of the Snake, and she paints her frames too, in addition to the art itself. It just has this little bit folk art, a little bit kitschy, but in the best possible way, and a lot of sincerity and heart to it. So that's beautiful. There's more Betty Skufka's pieces over here. Since we're walking down this hall, I am going to pass by these beauties by Judith Brandt, which are not figurative works, but with the animal theme down this hall. Judith Brandt is a major animal activist, as well as an activist for the environment. And so I think that that's why she has a place in the animal hallway, because a lot of times she will do these amazing, subtle, second reading animals in the clouds in her gorgeous drawings. So we're going to skip on down over here. This Maggie Brown piece, it's called Foxhound, which is a very simple name. She does, and this also has the feel of some really cool folk art, like vintage folk art, especially with these handmade rustic frames. She does cut paper, and this is, the stock pages with this gorgeous dog on the wallpaper. It's really just a beautiful, beautiful piece, super priced to move. It's gorgeous. So, and she has a little selection of them over here. We're going to come around, back up through Animal Alley. There's some beautiful work that I'm not going to talk about. Here's some gorgeous photographs by Becky Grasser. And like I said, you can see them on the website, the Lakeland website. And 3D, we're not going to talk about this week. 3D is for next week. So we're going to finish up Animal Alley over here with a couple more beautiful pieces by Lane Bachmann. It's actually a trio, which wouldn't that be awesome to have all three of those? And the way that Mary has arranged this corner, or this particular wall, is very sophisticated and iconic, with this beautiful round tondo by Evie Zimmer right here in the middle, which is not figurative, but it sure has some figurative swirls to it. One of the things that I wanted to highlight about Animal Alley over here, it's really hard to make animal art to make it be good kitschy, not bad kitschy. And by bad kitschy, I mean things like velvet paintings with a wolf howling at the moon, like pictures of stags on giant blankets that you see hanging in gas stations for $14.99. There's lots of bad animal art out there. I mean, there's dogs playing poker. That's sort of your classic gold standard for, quote, bad animal art, though it's actually kind of become so iconic that it's actually come back to maybe being good, but that's for the beauty is in the eye of the beholder as far as that goes. But one of the things that Mary Urbas has done is she's chosen animal art that is somehow elevated, where it is elevated from the sort of the bad animal art. It's brought animal art into the art world, and that is to her credit that she's chosen some terrific artists that do animals, because there's a wealth of, it's a treasure trove of different kinds of reference when you go to the animal kingdom, but you have to be very careful with it. So now that we've done the PG version, we're going to go in to where they normally, if there were nudes in the show, and I don't believe there are any nudes in this show, but if there were nudes, this is where they would be, in the inside part of the gallery. First corner, right here. This is another little magical corner that Mary has put together. In this little magical corner, I'm going to break the 3D rule just a little bit and talk about Annie Peters' work right here, The Crone of Wisdom. The whole corner has a similar feel to it. So we've got this ancient wisdom, this maybe Native American sensibilities, embracing the natural world. Annie Peters has put together this 3D piece, The Crone of Wisdom. And for those of you who don't know what a crone is, it's a term that's sometimes confused with hag or witch, but lately the word crone has come to mean just a wise old woman, maybe with some gorgeous wrinkles. And we've been, as women, taught to now embrace our inner crone, embrace that inner wise woman. And I think that Annie has captured that beautifully over here with her natural piece that looks figurative, and yet it's just, natural elements. I'm not even sure what it's, wood and stone. So they're natural elements. And it makes a nice pairing with Lorelei Skitzenta's piece right here, which is called Free Falling. And this one has a beautiful Native American sensibility to it. Also, it looks old as the ages. I mean, it looks old as nature because the way that she's treated the wood. And the corner would not be complete without, I know it's a 3D piece, but can't help but talk about it. The fledgling has flown with this beautiful natural nest piece, also by Annie Peters. And I don't know if you all remember from my bedroom episode, we have a nest piece by Annie Peters right by our bed. And the shadows on the wall, of course. Mary always focuses on the shadows on the wall. We'll talk more about that next week during the 3D portion of our show. Right here, let's skip on over. This beauty by Carrie Gore. It's called Three Sisters, Squash, Corn, and Beans. This one also has a celebration of the Native American culture and the three food items, which are the squash, the corn, and the beans. And I can see this one as being a illustration for maybe a book of Native American folk tales or something, with these three sister characters. It's really a very lovely piece. But sadly, there's a red dot, and you know what that means. Over here, though, there's no red dot on this gorgeous one by Jenny Mendez. It's called Garden of Eden. And I particularly fell in love with this one because I love the people, it's not necessarily a man and woman. It's two people that are also animals, and it has sort of a sophisticated fairy tale quality to it. And it also, it looks like it could have been done thousands of years ago, but the way that she's framed it with with floating on the glass, it would be perfect in a contemporary home, as are all three of these. I mean, this would make a nice threesome setup as well. So those are gorgeous. Now, in deciding what counts as 2D and what counts as 3D, I decided to do fiber art, which is like quilts and weavings, as part of the 3D episode. So I'm going to skip them right now, and we will talk about them next week. But I will take you over here. Here are two pieces, and I'm going to read the name of the artist so I don't mispronounce it. Paula Isidorek. This is the Pinup Diptych. So does everybody know what a pinup is? Back in the day, 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe probably even the 60s, there would be all-male garages and workshops and places like that. And companies, like say a Motorola company or a spark plug company, might give them a calendar. And they want them to pin up the calendar in the back of their shop. So what they do is they put a drawing or usually an illustration of a pretty girl on that pin-up calendar. So they pin it up in the back of the shop. They're always reminded to buy that motor oil, and they get to look at a pretty girl. Now these pretty girls on the pin-up calendars, they're so clumsy. They look like Barbie dolls. They're always wearing really high heels, which that kind of pushes your butt out a little bit. And they're always so clumsy. They're always dropping something and going, oops! And then you can see a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of cleavage, a little bit of bottom. And it's a classic illustration sort of genre. Yes, it's not feminist. Yes, it makes women look stupid, but in some contexts, and I'm just going to put this out there, it's actually so much of a parody that it's just plain old satire and comedy. It's self-consciously parodying women, and it's from the 40s, 50s, 30s, and everything. So, and they're really good illustrations. I always assumed that all the pinup artists, like the illustrators, were men. The one that everybody hears about is Alberto Vargas maybe. So I Googled pinup artists just to see who some of the other ones were. and I found a bunch of guys, like, they had these sort of macho names like Ben-Hur, and there was one named Aslan, like the lion from, Narnia. There was another one, a guy that named himself Roy Best, like, a lot of ego there, but name yourself Best. But one of the things I was very surprised and, happy to find is there were a few female pinup artists. There was Joyce Ballantyne was one that I found, and Zoe Mozart, almost like Mozart, but Mozart. What I found out was that Joyce Ballantyne is actually the artist who designed the copper tone little girl on the beach with the dog pulling her bikini bottom off, and you can see like the little white stripe at the bottom. And, that's a very iconic image. I didn't even need to print it out and show you because you guys all know what that looks like. So she was this major, major illustrator at the time, and same with Zoe Mozart. And both of them actually were very good-looking women, had the Barbie doll figure, and they posed themselves as pinup artists, or as pinup models. So that was sort of an interesting little finding. Now, one of the things that Paula has done here with her pinup diptych, which I'm going to get out of the way so you can actually see the two together without me blocking it. She's done sort of a self-conscious, not like a graphic treatment of the whole pinup concept. She's added multiple elements. She's got the vacuuming, because sometimes the pinup girls did housework. She's having a martini. I don't know if the pinup girls ever had martinis, but that's kind of a contemporary thing. Girls love martinis. She's got the devil angel thing going on. This one is a boxer, because, sometimes they have women playing at sports, like, oh, women can even play at sports. And she's done this graphic pattern in the background, which might have something to do with the birch board that it's on. That is, going at, it looks like wood grain, so it could very well be that. So she's done like this, very graphic, almost tongue-in-cheek kind of tributes to or plays upon the whole pinup concept. Now, as opposed to over here, we have Melissa Harris, who has two it's very different. These are not graphic. These are very more introspective type paintings. This one's called Crimson Waltz, and this one is called At Rest. Now, you may remember Melissa Harris's paintings from the new Master Show. She actually had one painting in there called Essential Being, where it had a lot of weight to it. It was a self-portrait where she was contemplating what the meaning of being essential was. Like essential workers getting the COVID vaccines, or getting sick from not getting the COVID vaccines yet. So that had a lot of introspection and a lot of gravitas to it. These two paintings also have that introspection, but there's probably a little bit more light and air and elegance, and it's sort of this, the light fluffiness of the tool that the ballet dancers have. They're both thinking, but maybe they're not, maybe they're contemplating simpler things and just sort of at rest and repose as dancers. And look at the beautiful translucent skin that she's got there. There's always a little bit of, greenishness under the flesh, which is really very, very nice. I love her hands down here too. And this beautiful dancer here with balancing the red, and her very sort of sweet, introspective face is really nice. So, beautiful work by Melissa Harris. Let's come around here for these 4 beauties by Beth Nash. Now, believe it or not, these are digital prints. So, as an old-timer myself, digital prints, sometimes the whole digital art thing just leaves me a little bit cold, because I really want to see something real. I really want to see the brush strokes. I really want to see the texture of an actual hand-created piece. And especially when digital work is and like it's painted digitally and it looks very realistic. It's kind of like, you know, it's almost like you're working backwards from a photograph and working back towards the photograph, so it's just a little bit odd to me. But what Beth Nash has done, number one, when I looked at these, I didn't know they were digital prints until I read the label. Number two, she's got some dynamite compositions here. I'm gonna put, my personal favorite is this green one here. In fact, you know what it's called? It's called Green. Okay, I love it. It's got this German expressionistic quality, like a Kokoschka, or maybe not so much a Klimt, but a Klimt-like composition. And the fact that she's managed this bright, bright, gorgeous green is really kind of amazing. It makes me want to go home and squeeze out some of my tubes of gorgeous green and do it in real, you know, in real paint. And Beth paints a lot of things in real paint. So, you know, but, and they're framed beautifully. And definitely also priced to move. So, over here, we've got this little gem of a wall here, 3 by Jamie Zentz, and 1 over here by Anya Khan, who it's this, you know, I'm gonna not block anything. It's this tiny little gem, mixed media on birch panel, and then the 3 by Jamie Zentz, 2 of which are sold already, which, you know, high five Jamie, that's awesome. Jamie also does the following the birch pattern on the wood that she works on. She uses birch wood, which has a lot of nice graining and stuff, and she uses the graining on the birch to inspire her drawings, and her people kind of come out from that, her backgrounds come out from that, and she makes up all her people. I don't know if you remember the episode where I talk about the Jamie Zentz that is in my collection, but I feel like the place in her brain where my painting, which is called Phoenix, came from, is the same one that this beauty came from, Luna. So they're sisters. She calls them her girls. So these are some gorgeous ones by Jamie Zentz, but hurry because there's only one available now. Rounding the corner, there are 3 pieces here by Leslie Discontent. Now, these are figurative. They are also abstract. She toes that fine line, like where they're inspired by the human body. She uses the human body as a jumping off point, but then she really takes it places. She takes it practically, you know, to total abstraction, but not quite. Just stops a little bit short. And pieces like this are great for people that are not quite ready to invite an image of a person they don't know, like a specific person they don't know, into their home. These are very sort of general. You can look at it just as an abstract with colors. You really, I mean, the only things that make them figurative is like you can see the neck and the shoulders, but it's really just, you know, beautiful, beautiful shapes and very easy to bring into your home. Gonna keep going. Right here, the Lakeland Women's Show, Mary Urbas always convinces Stanka Cordy to at least give her 1 piece, because Stanka her work gets sold very, you know, quite a bit. So, but she always has a piece for the Women's Show, which is awesome. This one right here is called Open Window. Stanka's work also, it's figurative that approaches abstraction, but it's a couple steps back from Leslie's work just over there. And what she's done is she starts with a specific human person, but then lets the painting become a painting. And she works intuitively, where the painting has sort of calls and answers, like the painting will she looks to the painting for guides to what to do next. And there's a lot of rubbing and scraping and stuff like that. In fact, Stanka offers a workshop every once in a blue moon where you bring an old painting that you're ready to sacrifice, but you don't want to completely paint over. And then you work on it, through it, with it, keeping parts, getting rid of parts, I assume, and you basically take your old painting and make it into a different kind of painting altogether, and also as a learning experience. So someday I want to take that workshop because I have plenty of old paintings that are kind of like not bad enough to paint over, not good enough to keep working on, so they stick them on the shelf. Right next to Stonica, we have the artist Kathy Rogers, all the way from Georgia. And you know who Kathy Rogers is because I've talked about her several times in several episodes. She posed for my Chicks with Balls project. She's the one with the 7 beach balls that she's sitting on. I also have a drawing of hers where she drew me, and it's in my kitchen. So you saw that in the What's Cooking in the Kitchen episode. This little beauty that she did right here, it's called Hope, Knowledge, and Time. And it is just this gem-like little still life with gold. Like, she really handles this gold beautifully. Like, look at the binding on that book. And look at the binding on this book that is written by C. Rogers. What a nice way to double sign your painting. She's got this key, and then she's got the bird. And the gold key, like, what is it? The key to life, the key to happiness. It's almost like the bird's gonna come and snatch it. It's one of those birds that grabs shiny things. And hope, knowledge, and time. It's a theme we can all relate to because we all want hope, we all want knowledge, and we all want time. So, Beauties by Kathy Rogers. I'm gonna skip on down. You guys know Sarah Curry because I covered Sarah Curry's show at the Hedge Gallery just, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago. It was before Christmas though, doing my shop in the shows. And Sarah, in this show, it's only her flocked pieces, the pieces with the black flocking and the very graphic figural compositions of girls taking selfies. And if you remember what I said about the selfies, then I'll just repeat it super quick. I love how she has these girls taking the selfies, but the focus is not on the nitty-gritty technology of the cell phone, like, oh, I've got to render the cell phone, oh, we're going to show the cell phone. The focus is on the girl and how the girl wants to be seen, because doing a selfie is really the ultimate in declaring this is how I want to be seen, whether it's, duck lips and poutiness or whatever, or whether you're trying to be sexy or you're trying to be goofy. You get to pick what you look like because you get to see what they look like right away. And, it's basically identifying your own image and the ultimate in the female gaze, which, speaking of, Sarah Curry happens to be in another show at the Beechwood Community Center called The Female Gaze. It's one of the other shows that is in the Mary Urbas's gallery guide to Women's History Month that she has put together. It's like this extensive guide that shows where all the different woman shows that are going on in the Northeast Ohio area this whole month. So if you can grab one of these guides, it's also online on the Lakeland website, and you can get to all those. You can go to my website, and I've got links and stuff like that. But Sarah Curry is in a show at the Beechwood Center, the Beechwood Community Center, along with other artists like Susan Porges, who is my framer too, and you've heard me mention her like every other episode because she does a lot of my framing. Who else is in that show? Now I'm trying to think who else is in the show. Sausan, and I can't remember. I'm going to have to look up here now. But that's something that you want to definitely hit that show as well. And so now we're going to go around here. Speaking of familiar faces, Mary Urbas every year includes a couple pieces by Marilyn Soleil. You may remember Marilyn Soleil. I have one of her pieces in my living room when we did, we're getting high in the living room. She was the one right behind me. She does these gorgeous charcoal drawings. They're stunning, they're graphic, they're major, they're psychological, they're deep, and there's a nice supply of them where every year Mary is able to find a couple more. Even though Lynn Soleil passed away in 2012, there's still work, and she's, be able to show a different pieces every year at the Women's Show so far. Here's a wall by Trisha Common, who is, I'm going to show you my favorite one of hers right here. It is called Pretty in Pink. And what I love about this piece, it's got this timeless quality to it. Like, it could have been done, you know, in the 1920s or the 1930s, or it could have been done yesterday. It's very timeless, but also contemporary. And the name Pretty in Pink, I feel like, I wonder if it's a little bit of an irony, because she looks like she's more contemplative. She's not just pretty, she's beautiful, and she's introspective and deep and thinking. So there may be a little bit of a irony in the titling of the piece, but she is wearing pink too, so that goes along with it. All right, follow me. We're going to go to the next room, because remember, just doing figurative, and you may recognize the piece that you see here, and I'm not going to talk about it because I have spent 3 whole episodes of Living Figuratively talking about the Love Athena Triptych. It's also on all the publicity, which you know, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. Except for, I don't know if anybody notices that the configuration of it is not the way I intended it to be. The 2 end pieces, in my original intention, are flipped. But you know what? I kind of like it like this too. So that's why I didn't say anything, and I'm just leaving it, you know, leaving it that way. And I think it looks awesome, and I'm psyched. It's kind of the end of the tour. So thank you for joining me tonight for Living Figuratively, and be sure to come back next week when we do the 3D episode, which will hopefully be enterprising, tantalizing, but not tranquilizing, all those mod things. Same bad time, same bad channel. Thursday night, March 11th, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you don't come back for the 3D episode, God will get you for that.